Hello, everybody. It's your friends Chris and Cody. Today we are going to be talking about a little bit of a delectable treat known as Agents of Smersh. Originally came out in 2012. I say originally, maybe you don't know this, but in 2022, a couple years ago, they did a Kickstarter and re-released this game, actually. It's definitely a 60s vibe spy game, co-op. It's very much a storytelling game more than anything else. There is some dice rolling and some skills attached to the different spy characters that you can be. It definitely leads in heavy to the 1960s spy tropes, and there's a lot of humor in it. And there's a huge book that comes with the game. You're working together to try to defeat the evil. What's his name?
The name's Lobo.
And it's fun. It's almost like it's the storytelling game in the vein of like a choose your own adventure. You'll read a paragraph, and it'll ask you what you want to do, and then you'll roll. Like let's say, oh, you're gambling. Make a gambling roll. Oh, he doesn't like the results of your suits. He pulls out a gun and shoots at you. Take an injury. So it's one of these kind of unpredictable storytelling games mirrored up with your skills. And your goal is to go through X amount of rounds and try to capture Dr. Lobo. That's the short of it.
So I originally played this game, and it was just super, super fun. I like these kind of more easygoing, fun games where it does not matter if you win or lose. It's the fun you have while you play the game. And this is definitely a game where you're having fun. You kind of almost want a friend or yourself to get screwed over, because there's always that one character that gets like boned the whole game, and it's entertaining as hell. It is a lot of fun. It is there's a little, obviously it's tons of luck, but there's also some skills because you can choose certain skills or which skill you want to use in the scenario.
Or which one you want to raise up, like firearms.
Yeah,
or whatever,
if you come across someone in the alleyway, are you going to try to sneak up on them? Are you going to just fight them? Are you going to use your spy abilities on them? Are you going to try to use your, convincing abilities, or are you just going to run away?
You feel that?
That's the way the mechanics of the game work. Aside from you having these, you can get equipment and stuff, but aside of you basically having these stories happen to you, you're going to earn these different tokens, and what determines if you win or not as a group is if you have all the appropriate tokens towards the end of the game that you need to beat Dr. Lobo, and you either beat him or you don't. And so that's essentially the game.
From all the times we've played, I cannot say whether I've beaten him or not, but every time I play, I'm just like, wow, this is such a fun game.
If you like storytelling games and you like people reading stuff that happened to you, then you'll like this game. I mean, it definitely has its place. There's plenty of people that don't like those type of games.
Yeah,
so, yeah. It's a storytelling game.
It's not a strategy game at all. There's no strategy.
Well, there's a little bit. You decide where you go and if you're gonna fight this, you want to do the mission, that sort of thing.
Collect the item or this, that. But essentially, I don't give a fuck. It's just fun to play out. It's just fun to see. There might be a scenario that it's like, They give you options of how you're going to react, and you shouldn't react in a certain way, but you just kind of want to see what happens. We've been kidnapped, we've been shot, we've been stabbed, we've all sorts of stuff has happened to us, and it's just fun.
Complexity, it's not very complex. Again, what would you say? I think it's a 2.46 weight of 5 on Board Game Geek.
Fuck up and have successes, and you can try really hard to think about the right way to do it and still get fucked over.
You're rolling dice. I mean, you can mitigate it a bit with how good your skill is.
But you're not there to strategize. You're not there to. You're just there to have fun. This is a have fun game.
Like, how complex would you say it is?
I think the most complex thing about this game and Tales of the Arabian Nights is figuring out which paragraph and which thing to read.
Yeah.
It's literally just like Tales of the Arabian Nights. I have to look through the book every time to be like,
well, there's a rubric.
This one's a little more. I have to find this paragraph.
This one's a little more cut and dry. Yeah.
I think that literally learning how to read it. It's not complex, but it is the most complex thing about it. It's not complex.
Yeah.
Oh,
replayability of this game, I would say, is very high because there's no way. I mean, unless you're doing this as like your weekly, there's no way you're going to go through all of the stories, all of the scenarios. It comes very much with, like I said, a big book with all these story paragraphs of all these wacky things that can happen to you. And it is fun to just kind of see what happens to you. And I think that affects, one of the good things about these type of games, for me at least, these storytelling games, is they affect downtime in a positive way. A lot of times when it's not your turn, you're playing a game, especially like a complex game, not that this is complex, it's not. But a lot of times if you're playing a game, you got to, oh, it's not your turn, you just took your turn. Oh, you can go up and get a sandwich or something because everyone's like doing their own independent solitaire turns and you're not really interested in what's going on. Again, depending on the game. It's not the case with this game because you're eager to see like kind of what happens to the other people in your play group. And you're like, oh, he just got shot or oh, he just fell out of a plane and landed in a snowbank or whatever.
You're not really helping each other.
You're still working together.
Invested in each other's...
Yeah.
You know, because it is all about... It's like watching a story unfold. You don't care if your character is the one it's happening to. You just want to know what happened. Plus... One character's reading, one character's doing something else, and one character's choosing what's happening to their character.
That's how we do
so
it. Yeah,
it interacts,
so it keeps everything. It minimizes downtime.
But it is just like it is.
So the replayability leans very heavily into the '60s spy trope, and it does that well. And the theme,
comedic '60s.
Yeah, the theme,
it could
like
be,
a Get Smart type.
Yeah, it could be cool and suave and like. You know, oh, this weird thing happened.
It's not serious.
But yeah, they went with the comedic route, and it's like a perfect route to go with.
It's definitely
it's just fun, lighthearted fun.
Serious. Yeah, for sure. So the theme comes across really well.
Is at stake. There's only one super secret agent for the job.
His name.
All right, let's go with... Do you want to go with rating?
Yeah.
You already said what this was. Didn't you say what your rating was for this already?
Just 9.5 for Tales of the Arabian Nights. I love that game. Literally one of my favorite games.
So I'm gonna say this game for you is an 8.5.
No. I'm giving this game
a 9.
A 9.
Okay.
Agents of Smersh.
Okay. Do you want to guess my rating for this?
I'm gonna go like 7. 6.5. 7.
It's a 7. Yeah. I like this game. It's not a game that I'm like... I don't know. I kind of wish this game was a little more crunchy. But again, you're playing this game for the experience, and I appreciate the game for that. So it's a solid 7 for me. And I do like storytelling games. A lot of people don't. Even some people in our like game group might not be into storytelling games. But it's entertaining enough for me, storytelling wise, that I do like the game. And I think, honestly, when I first played this way back in the day, when I was a little more of an inexperienced board gamer, I probably rated this higher. Mm-hmm. But after having like more plays of other games under my belt, and then like you know, stuff changes, right? Yeah. And this could go up again. It could go down. It can go up. But as of now, I would say, like, yeah, this is a solid 7 for me. But an obvious recommendation. We both recommend it. It's a good game.
Fucking awesome game.
Yeah. All right, so this here, you just like have Arizona hard iced teas just splayed out all
they can't
over
see
my.
That, though. You're calling me out.
All over my game table here. You're like a cartoon character. You're just. I feel like we open your truck.
Looks like a bunch of drag queens were in this truck.
No, sorority girl. So anyway, we're talking about. Well, the previous segment. I always like to... We play this guessing game with what we're going to talk about, even though what we're going to talk about is the name of the episode. But it's still fun.
Yeah.
It's still fun to do it, though. Yeah, there's no mystique.
Based on...
With
spy aesthetics.
Crap.
Humorous spy aesthetics, I feel like, if we're narrowing it down.
Yeah, sure.
Good times, fun, easygoing, lighthearted spy stuff. And then you're also thinking, well, these losers aren't going for, like, the top-tier spy stuff. We're not talking about...
We're always trying to, like...
James Bond.
We're trying to always go at least a little obscure, right?
Little obscure. What movie could we review and pair with Agents of Smersh.
Right.
We'll give you a second.
The greatest game Davy Osborne ever played
Oh, you got me.
was Cloak and Dagger. Then one day, he was in the right place at the wrong time.
Tell the FBI.
Now, the enemies are real.
The cops know dads. We're on our own, pal.
The danger is real. The bullets are real.
This is starting to get good.
What?
Just like Cloak and Dagger.
And the game has turned into anything but child's play. Top secret documents are at stake. Time is running out.
Trying to kill us.
And the only person who believes him is
Cloak and Dagger, starring E.T.'s Henry Thomas and 9 to 5's Danby Coleman. This movie is an espionage movie with kind of the focal point of the movie, or the MacGuffin of the movie, an Atari game known as Cloak and Dagger, which was, at the time the movie was released, they were almost kind of doing it, as I understand it, a promotional tie-in to the Cloak and Dagger arcade game. But the main character is playing Cloak and Dagger for Atari. Fun fact, the Cloak and Dagger for Atari, I guess, didn't exist. They only had an arcade version at the time. Yeah, so that's why it's kind of weird. This kid, Henry Thomas, kind of a precocious, hyper-imaginary kid, is friends with his...
Schizophrenic?
No. He's friends with his imaginary friend, Jack Flack, who he kind of uses in, like, RPG games. And Jack Flack is played by Danby Coleman. Incidentally, his Air Force father is also played by Danby Coleman. Danby Coleman, his father's kind of fed up with his son's games and wants him to kind of adjust to reality. But Henry Thomas's character, Davy, is very hyper-focused on playing games.
Wants his son to come out of his psychosis.
That's one way to look at it. So it's kind of a boy who cried wolf scenario, because he ends up getting involved in an actual espionage kind of thing. He gets passed on a video game, Cloak and Dagger, by a dying FBI agent, and these spies are trying to kill him to retrieve it. That's the kickoff point. This kid with a hyperactive imagination gets caught up in espionage, and he also relies on his imaginary friend Jack Flack to kind of steer him through these difficult and kind of crazy situations that this kid is in. Mm-hmm. Right? Would you say that's pretty much a fair...
Yep, that is it.
Yeah, summary of the film? Yeah. So what are some initial thoughts for you?
If I were to write a script based on, like, you know, what I know about the 80s, like an 80s kind of a script about a kid... in video games, and kind of being wrapped up into like a espionage kind of a scenario. Like, how do you get this little kid who likes video games wrapped up into some kind of a high stakes espionage kind of a life and death scenario? I feel like this is the exact script I would write. That is not a criticism.
Okay.
Cody
writing is...
I very much enjoyed this movie. Mm-hmm. I think it is one of those, like, it's just like, oh, I feel like I've seen this movie a million times based on all the other movies.
Have you seen this movie before I recommended it, or no?
I've never seen this movie. Okay. I've never even heard of this movie.
Okay.
But based on, like, all the other kind of movies I was into in the 80s.
Right.
Like,
it
war
fits
games.
That kind of niche,
yeah,
right?
Like,
yeah,
it just feels like, oh, I feel like an AI made this movie. I feel like I've seen all the things that...
variations of this
come into
kind
this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, his... You know,
no one believes him, and
Jack Flack is like this agent, and his father is the agent, and he learns to respect his father, and blah blah blah. Like, but it is just one of those movies. Obviously, this movie is meant to be entertaining, fun, lighthearted adventure.
Ooh wah ah ah ah.
But it was fantastic.
I actually kind of am more interested in hearing your points on it and your view on it, because when I recommended this movie, again, this is a movie that I've seen and grew up with. And I saw as a kid, and I've seen it a million times. So it's already encoded in my brain, right? So I'm not looking at this film because I've seen it so many times with fresh eyes like you. Mm-hmm. So it is kind of interesting to kind of hear your point on this film because you're watching it now in 2024
Yeah.
for the first time. So I'm like completely biased because this is a movie I grew up with and I've seen like 100 times. So
So
I
loved it because you
Yeah.
know it just had all the things that you want from a movie in that time, and you know you go in there expecting, you just know the premise and you're just like, oh, this is what I want from the movie.
probably, but I always tear up at the end of this movie. The very, very, very last scene.
The bullets are real.
This is starting to get good.
And I feel like, and I don't know, like, if I hadn't seen this movie, like, when I was a kid, and I saw it now as you, I don't know what that means. If I saw it with fresh eyes, I don't know if I would tear up if, like, they just, yeah. So maybe
I hate my dad, so I was like, fucking blow that shit up. If you see this movie now, I feel like Dad would have been played by like John Cena. He's action John Cena.
Well,
He's
you know that there's gonna be, maybe not, but I feel like this is one of those movies that eventually there's gonna be some sort of remake because they remake everything, right?
But like, I don't know.
What remakes do you want to see? Let us know in the comments.
Having the dad.
Danny Coleman did pretty well though.
No, he did fantastic.
Yeah,
Like,
playing Jack Flack and his dad.
I only know him from
9 to 5. Did you?
No,
Short
I've never
Time?
heard of that.
What? It's exciting. It has heart. It's kind of a 80s grittier. If I gave it a vibe, kind of an 80s grittier Disney movie. Random thing. What was the first? Without getting to spoilers, or unless you can do it without getting to spoilers, let me know. Or if you have to do spoilers. What point of the film? Because I'm sure, like Zardoz, for example, you're watching a movie, and you're like, okay. And you start rubbing on. At what point of the movie were you like, okay, like, you knew that you weren't gonna, like, look at your phone? Was that even, like, a conscious thing?
I know exactly when it was.
Really? The dummy?
That's when I'm like, I want to see more of this stuff. Because like, even, like, all right, you use a dummy, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, even when
And
he
they're
hits the
fucking
ground,
shooting at him?
But like that, it's like
And
when
they're-
the dummy
and
hits
they're
the
shooting-
ground,
and-
and like the dummy falls like this.
Yeah, and it's... Yeah.
And like his legs are like
Yeah.
under him. I'm
Yeah.
just like, why don't you fix the dummy?
Yeah.
To have him like, or put a dude there. Put a dude laid out on the ground.
Do you want to go into ratings now?
All right, let's do it.
All right. Do you want to guess mine, or...
Again, because the nostalgia factor, I'm going to say you're going to give this a 8.5.
Yep.
Because nostalgia... Okay, it's a great movie to begin with. It's a perfectly what it is movie, what it is.
A what it is movie, what it is.
But you add nostalgia to it, it's going to bump it up because
Right.
you're a nostalgia guy, which
Yeah.
I totally get.
This microchip doesn't belong here.
8.5.
I was going to go 8.
Okay.
Because
all right.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I think it was fantastic.
Okay.
I feel like there's other movies that are like it from the era that I go, oh, I enjoyed it more.
Yeah.
If I had seen it as a kid, it probably would have stuck with me.
It would have bumped it.
But I
Yeah.
think it was like
Yeah.
fucking fantastic. It was a fantastic movie.
It's just silly fun. Silly fun.
Shoot him.
It's gonna be a bummer when they make
Remake
John
it.
Cena into the dad and
Who'd be the kid?
who'd be the kid?
I don't even really know any like current like popular kid actors now. Do you? Is that even a thing?
About that age? No.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
It's gonna be John Cena and some blah kid, and they're gonna use their smartphone to blah de blah, and it's gonna be. There's no game cartridges, so what? It's gonna be his smartphone app. Or like, I sent a Snapchat and it has some kind of coded blah de blah on it.
So thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let us know what you think in the comments. What do you think about Cloak and Dagger? What do you think about Tales of the Arabian Nights? What do you think of Agents of Smersh? What do you think of Mary Elizabeth Winstead? Let us know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Subscribe to us on Spotify. Subscribe to us on YouTube.